This is an M-rated game, so viewer discretion is advised. Firewatch. I'm going to warn you first off, there are some minor spoilers in this review. None that you wouldn't guess would happen, but if you want to go in totally unspoiled, buy this on sale. It's too short for it to be worth it at full price, but it's enjoyable enough to buy it when it's on sale. When I go into a game, I like to know a little bit about what I'm walking into. If I'm playing an adventure game, I like to know what the basic plot is, or at least know what the main narrative is going to be. Like, for example, if I'm playing Monkey Island, I kind of know in the beginning I'm a guy trying to become a pirate, that sort of thing. As vague as possible. I fully admit, starting up this game, the only thing I knew about it was apparently a walking simulator in a forest. And I assumed at some point we'd be running away from a fire with different points that were usually accessible, blocked off by fire. The whole time I was playing this, I was just waiting for that obvious moment. And you know what? It never really came. While this is a walking simulator, it's more of a mystery game than dealing with fire. There is a fire in this game, but honestly, for most of the title, they couldn't care less about it. They were miles and miles away from civilization, and the fact there was a fire not that far away, and they were not freaking out about it, was kind of weird. How is it these two people are not evacuated from their fire lookouts until almost the end of the game? This was just the biggest leap in logic I couldn't actually get behind. It didn't make a lot of sense. Now the story is about Henry. He's taken a summer job at a fire lookout station. In the beginning you could choose the minor ways his backstory is shaped. It still ends up in the same basic way, but the details getting there are different. He's all alone in this lookout. His only friend he can talk to is another fire lookout ranger named Delilah, and he talks to her over a two-way radio. They have a fun and flirty relationship over the radio, and it can be really funny at times. She basically guides him throughout the adventure and helps him from becoming bored being alone out in the forest so long. Everything is voice acted, which is great. I think if they hadn't made that decision, this might not have worked as well as it has. Days and days will pass, and he'll have to do all kinds of chores and deal with rowdy campers. Each day is different as you travel through the forest, as it's not too large as it would become frustrating to traverse, but it's also not small enough that it would be boring because you just see the same things over and over again. As the days go by, you'll find mysterious things happening, like destroyed campsites, backpacks that shouldn't be there, or an overwhelming feeling like someone is watching you. Over the summer, you're going to solve the mystery and maybe heal yourself from the reason you came here in the first place. They give you a compass and a map of the forest, and that was really helpful. I was constantly looking at it, as it is really easy to get turned around. Sure, after a while I started recognizing certain places, but the game is short enough that this is not a common thing to happen. The forest itself was a bit of a cheat at times. While you could technically go wherever you wanted, the game limited you on where you could go. There might be a very small jump you can't go down, but from another part you can jump down from a much higher distance. In fact, this guy does way more climbing than I expected. Plus at one point he basically has unlimited rope. I get they try to mention that he found all the rope he'd ever need, but it was crazy how much he had on him. There were wildlife boxes you could open for supplies. These were mostly optional, and they would mark out trails you could follow to make the game a little bit easier. It was a nice bonus for exploration. Now after you finish this 4-hour game, there's actually a walking audio commentary where you can replay the game while listening to the creators explain what they were trying to do, and the gameplay they added in, and why. It was actually kind of interesting. Also, I gotta say this is actually the second review that I've done which actually has nudity in it. That's 2 reviews in a little bit over a month that have nudity in them. Nintendo sure has changed their standards. Now, I just wasn't expecting it here. It was in the ratings breakdown, but I never look at that. I always assume the M is for language, which it was in this game, but there is actually a very brief male nude scene. It's a cartoon and it's played for a joke. Was it really necessary? No, it wasn't. They could have covered it up and the joke would still land. But at least it wasn't as gratuitous as She Sees Red, which was completely pointless. Firewatch was an enjoyable trip in the forest. The overall mystery kept me engaged the whole way through. It really helped that it had a sense of humor, and the twists and turns of the story were really well done. Now normally this game is $19.99, and it is way too short to recommend the game at that price. However, I picked this up for $5.99, and it's definitely worth it at that price. I wasn't planning on playing this all in one night, but that's what happened. The story kept me hooked till the very end, and it's definitely a game you should buy when it's on sale.